So welcome to the first episode of Down at the Docks here in Edward Pavilion. Today we got special guest Amy Collins. She's going to tell us about her business, why she loves the city so much, and how it incorporates into her career. So yeah. So Amy, tell us about your business.
So my business is called PinHead, and I design and supply enamel pin badges. So the kind that you would wear on your lapel, or you see people going to the football on their hats, that sort of thing. But
or
really,
lanyards.
or on lanyards like yours. And they're really like unique and high quality ones though. And I've got two different parts of my business. Okay. I sell gifts on Etsy. I've got a shop where you can buy my designs, but I also work with a lot of other businesses and supply them as like wholesale deals, and quite often they will hire me to actually design something for them.
So going back to the early days, what was your mission from the onset?
So I didn't have a mission. It wasn't really even a business. It was a hobby, so a bit of a kind of side hustle. I noticed as Instagram was rising, this trend of enamel pins was also starting. Like a lot of trends, it kind of started in California, all the cool kids, and it's a very like Instagrammable thing. And I started collecting my own pins, and I had a few ideas of things that I wanted to do. And so I basically just did it for a bit of pocket money and something to kind of keep me being creative, because it's like I hadn't really done anything arty since school.
Got you.
So yeah, it's kind of almost an accident that it's turned into a business.
Right. So when you was doing it as a hobby, did you create designs back then as well to create into pins? So
really at the beginning I was bootlegging. I was taking cultural reference stuff and nostalgic bits and bobs. So my very first pin that I brought out was of Cat Dog, the old cartoon from the 90s, which is just like show my age. And then a lot of the pins that I made were associated with film or TV that I was like really interested in, and I was basically just making some stuff that I would want myself.
I got you. So I always, now you said that, I'm thinking of yours, Zig and Zag.
Oh, Zig and Zag, yeah.
Was that one of the original designs too?
Well, I can't say it. I can't say that's original realistically.
Was the idea to create them back then though, or is that more of a recent design?
No, that's been out for. I did those like quite a while ago actually, and I did Ed the Duck as well.
Ed the Duck.
Yeah.
So with all these ideas and you bootlegging at the very beginning, how did this turn into a business?
So basically, I was really quite savvy. Like I didn't put any money in, or rather I've only ever put like 300 quid in of my own money to buy my very first pins, and then every time I had enough from that pin I would buy the next pin, and I just kind of continued like that, and I had a few like good breaks early on, so which meant that I gathered quite a bit of like Instagram following and momentum, and kind of things moved quite quickly. One of the things that happened was I released a pin of a scene from Breaking Bad where Danny Trejo's head is a severed head is on a tortoise.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember that scene.
I haven't seen Breaking Bad yet.
Right. Okay. Well, it's like probably.
I think you sold it now, though.
My favourite episode. Anyway, so I'd released this pin inspired by that scene, and Gilbert Trejo, who is Danny Trejo's son
Okay.
bought
Alright,
one
yeah.
as a gift for his dad.
Okay.
And then he sent me a photograph of his dad wearing it. So like, obviously, like when that photograph circulated on the internet, like, you know, those pins just like disappeared in seconds, and I got loads of new followers, and yes, just like nice little things like that happen. And then in terms of the supply side of the business, I was working in a shop in Ball Street called Mataz, the international food store. And as a favour, they asked me to design them a pin for the store.
Okay.
And I did it as a favour, and I literally just got inundated with other businesses and other people with their own projects who wanted something similar for themselves. And that's when I realised, like, oh, there's a demand here.
That's amazing.
So yeah, I was literally just kind of reacting to this demand that I didn't even know existed.
Okay, cool. So how did you deal with that demand? I guess that would be a follow-up.
Well, I mean, I've made a few kind of boo-boos in the beginning. Not boo-boos, I suppose I just had to kind of learn. So I was using a third-party supplier to get my pins that I thought was based in like
UK.
Sheffield in the UK or whatever. Anyway, it transpired they weren't, and that all of the metal and enamel production happens in China and Thailand. So when I discovered that I was dealing with a middleman, and I also had a really bad experience customer service wise, I started doing a little bit of research into kind of dealing direct with China. And that made supply a lot more viable in terms of like margins and, you know, satisfying orders and actually making it kind of worth my while. And you know, I just kind of took the jobs as they came, and it just built up nicely, slowly. I was quite fortunate that it just kind of you know, kind of grew slowly.
Yeah, that's really good. Did you got any issues when you was looking for manufacturers to produce your designs?
Well, I mean, I managed to get a personal recommendation. So, and that's, you know, I'm very lucky for that, but I was friendly with somebody who is based in New York actually, and she put me on to her supplier, so they came really highly recommended, and I'm still using them now. I have like other suppliers, particularly since Wuhan closed down. I needed to kind of have some like backup plans and stuff like that, and it's not that easy actually dealing with international suppliers, particularly when there's a massive communication barrier.
Got you.
So, I mean, that's kind of an ongoing thing, and we've just kind of, I mean, over 5 years, we've learned a lot about one another, and, you know, we get there in the end, and we've got a way of, working. But essentially, that's part of the value of my business, is I'm taking that stress away from businesses. You know, people who've got their own businesses and want pins haven't got the time to be doing the research, because there's a lot of bad factories out there, and they're not all high quality. It's pretty competitive industry. And that's, you know, in the pin community, there's a lot of this happening as well. Designs getting stolen, stuff ending up on Wish. That's a big one as well. And, you know, you're quite vulnerable, really. And I've had it happen to me once, but because it was something I was already kind of bootlegging.
Okay.
I didn't really have a place to fight my corner, you know, so there's me doing some pins that are inspired by Wes Anderson's film, The Isle of Dogs.
Okay.
And I had this particular way of presenting these dogs, which was with the paws like this sort of thing. And then I see this like really terrible version appear on like Alibaba or something. And it's like basically my designs, poor quality. Well, how can I fight when I've already pretty much ripped off Wes Anderson?
Yeah, I guess so. Hard.
So you've got to kind of...
You're in no man's land.
Take the rough with the smooth.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I could tell you're an ambassador to the city. Why do you love Liverpool so much?
Well, actually, I didn't grow up in Liverpool. So my family are all from Liverpool, and when I was 3, we moved to North Wales. And I used to come here to visit family, and so it was like a kind of treat and an event, and you know, it was all usually like around Christmas and involved getting loads of presents from family members and stuff. And also my dad was a black taxi driver, and I very frequently, I'm sure you know you would get in so much trouble for doing this now, but I would sit in the pit. He had a black taxi, and I would sit in the pit next to in the side,
next to the driver,
where there should be a passenger seat. There's just a hole, and I would sit in there, and I would spend the day and have a day. And you always got more tips when I was there, because you know, it must have been like cute or something. So yeah, like my experience of Liverpool when I was young was like really unique, you know. And then when I was 18 and I was going to university, it was just really obvious I was just going to come here. And I wouldn't say that I've loved Liverpool the whole time that I've been here. I just think that, especially, you know, since like the capital of culture, like the development and the progress in the city, you know, it's just become more and more vibrant all of the time. And I think as well, because I'm part of the community now more than I've ever been. When I was a student, I was like an outsider, and you know, I feel I've been here longer than I was in Wales now, and I have a lot to do with the locals, and it's a really nice experience. And I think if ever anybody comes to visit, I feel quite proud to show them round. I think that the waterfront is just like nowhere else. And you know, we do have these exceptional buildings that are really iconic.
Yeah, I mean, it's the most listed buildings outside London, isn't it?
That sounds like a good statistic.
You said it you said it in the video we did. I can't remember.
I haven't got a good memory.
Was it the most listed buildings outside London?
It sounds about right, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does sound.
I'm having that.
I think it's up there with New York. New York's got a lot as well.
Yeah.
It's up there. I remember, because I remember going to New York and I did the tour, and the woman there mentioned Liverpool being like 3rd after New York or something in the world.
Ah.
Yeah. Can't remember. Would it be 2?
Oh yeah, did you want to ask me how I incorporate that into my work? Because you just asked me how much I love. We actually have talked about the pins.
Yeah, there was 2 answers to that question.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, how would you incorporate? Sorry, that doesn't sound right. So, how do you incorporate your passion for the city into your pins?
A lot of the stuff that I'm selling at the moment is pretty kind of Liverpool centric, to be fair. I've got a range of pins that celebrate the dialect, so a lot of kind of cheeky Scouse sayings. And then I have a range of pins which celebrate the buildings around the city. And yeah, just landmarks that people like to visit.
Okay. So, what's your favourite landmark in Liverpool?
Ah.
Tricky question, yeah.
I've got a soft spot for the Radio City Tower.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's always put in a negative light, I think, sometimes, because it's transitioned through different themes, and it's not quite the original theme anymore. But yeah, and this, people have said it's an eyesore as well, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, like...
I think it's cool.
I just think, like, it would change the entire skyline, and it isn't an attractive building, but it's, I don't know, it's kind of fun.
Warts and all, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how it's called.
The pimple of Liverpool.
They should just paint it something psychedelic.
If they painted it mad colours, that would make it even better.
Yeah, go for it.
Or just like get lasers coming out the bottom so it actually looked like a
and little smoke machines around the bottom.
Spaceship.
Yeah, and like smoke machines all the way around it. Yeah.
Because it spins as well, doesn't it? I haven't seen it spinning, but it does spin.
Yeah, apparently. Does it still spin now, or have they turned that feature off?
I don't know. I'm not sure. When it was a restaurant, it spun. I don't know. It spinned.
How would your family describe what you do for a living?
That I quite like this question actually. It really made me like think. I think people know what my job is and what I do. I think like my older relatives don't really understand the appeal of pins.
No.
And perhaps, you know, I'm a 36-year-old woman, and I don't know if they possibly think it's like a little bit immature or geeky, or I'm not really sure. You know, because like when people, and it's very sweet that people take an interest, but when they come to you and they're like, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Why don't you do that? And it's like, I'm not sure you get what I'm doing here. But I think, you know, like my immediate family, my brother and sister, like really kind of involved and interested in what I do. And for the most part, even if my family don't really understand what it is that I'm doing, they are quite kind of in awe of me just getting on with it and doing it. And, you know, I think a lot of people would love to not have a boss. And that, you know, that's the main thing. It's like, whoa, you mean you can say yes to everything you're asked to do, or you can say yes to invitations because you've got no, you know, set schedule. And
you've got the flexibility.
You've got the flexibility.
For years, my dad thought that I was playing computer games in my bedroom until I emerged one day with a web design company.
With a suitcase of money.
Well, I had to show him my bank balance to, because my dad, where I'm from, we're from an old mining village, and my dad always said to me, I want you to get a job, and I want you to come home as black as the road, he used to describe it. But I used to say to my dad, there's no mines anymore. So there was no economy neither, so yeah, started doing web design. And it got to the point where I had to show my dad my bank balance for him to believe that I was making an income. It's weird. My dad's very stern, old-fashioned. Have you seen my dad?
No.
He's got like a massive moustache up here, it's huge, like a walrus.
Amazing. I would like photographic evidence, please.
I'll show you after this. I'll show a picture of my father over this video. Alright, cool. So what things do you do to continue to stay on top of your game? What things do you do to continue to grow your skill set? It's a very organic
thing, really. I'm learning all of the time, and I do kind of, the main way that I learn is by saying yes to things, always being open to new opportunities, even if it's not something that I'm used to. And so, you know, I invariably meet other people by doing that, and I learn from other people. I've had to learn loads of skills. You know, I've had to teach myself very basic graphic design. I've had to learn how to use all of the software and various different platforms and whatnot. And I actually did a marketing degree as a mature student. And so I was doing a marketing degree because I was fed up working in retail, and my pins was like ticking along in the background as my little side hustle. But in that 3 years, by the time I finished, the only thing I wanted to do was run my own business. You know, so.
Did you have a burning passion to make that happen?
No, not at all. It literally steadily kind of, you know, grew. So like in my 3rd year of uni, my business took 55 grand, and that was just me. So I was doing a full-time degree and writing a dissertation, and managed to generate that. Do you know what I mean? I was just like,
that's amazing.
Hang on a minute, you know, that's not profit obviously, but still, like it's like that's a lot of work.
Things just started pointing in that direction.
And I was like, hang on a minute, this is like, you know, and I was like, put my tax in, and I was like, this is what I'd be earning somewhere else, with someone telling me what to do, and actually working probably twice as much, if I'm honest. In terms of hours and stuff. It's a different type of kind of schedule when you work for yourself, I think. Well, I don't know, maybe other people are different, but I'm not very rigid with.
I've tried to be, but I just fall off straight away. Trying to be rigid, self-controlled.
I don't know.
Can you work to a schedule?
Nope. This is a problem.
Is it? Do you want to tell me?
No, I get very bored by routine. So I'm pretty easily distracted as well. So the more I set myself to do something regularly, or you know, at a certain time each week, or the more likely I am that's not going to happen. So I have to be a bit more intuitive. Well, I am rather a bit more intuitive, but I've got pretty poor organisation. So if my workload is not overwhelming, I can tend to just, you know, tick along. But at the same time, you know, if I wanted to take somebody on as a member of staff, it would be very difficult for me to show them where I'm up to. Because it's chaos.
With me, I usually fall out of structure when I'm asked for things repeatedly, because I have this rebellion in me which instantly dismisses anyone that requires me to do something by a certain time on a certain day. I don't know what it is. I'll tell, like art commissions, and they give you a deadline, and they don't realise that it's done when it's done. You know what I mean? So, yeah, before Christmas I took on 2, and I had nothing but headaches. I give myself the headaches, of course, but as soon as someone puts a deadline on something, I naturally rebel it. I hit the deadline, but I hate it. That's the only thing about work for myself, is when people put deadlines on things. Especially when something is creative. Because, you know what I mean, you can't rush creativity.
Yeah, I mean, like, I have to work to deadlines, and that suits me because I will you know, even just at university, it was the exact same. I've always been the same. Whole, you know, I'm the night before, doing my homework the night before, or on the school bus on the way in. and I'd always get it done, and just maybe flukily done well, but I need that like time pressure to get me to just, it's like a kick up the backside really.
So for like a pin commission, what's the average turnaround from idea, artwork to giving the client the actual pins? What's the usual turnaround there?
It depends if I'm required, you know, if I'm being hired to do some design work, because I might need a bit of time, or I might have stuff already in the bank that I'm working on, so you might need to kind of get in a queue. But once we've approved the artwork and they've been paid for, then it takes about 4 weeks.
4 weeks,
yeah. So that's, you know, international ship, you know, the time for international shipping, but also the process of making pins is quite involved. There's lots of stages, and there's drying, and you know, it can't be rushed really.
No, not to the quality you have anyway.
Not to the
premium
quality. No.
I do see some pins, and they look a terrible state. Some of them, yeah. I mean, I've been guilty of making purchases off Wish to discover the most hideous picture of, I don't know, David Bowie or whatever they do. Really bad quality, yeah.
Stay off Wish, Aaron.
Want to Ian Nesbitt then. Have you seen his Wish board?
Yeah.
Has he ever sent you a photo of your pins on the big board? There's like 50 Wish pins in with it as well. There's loads of Wish on there. What's the biggest surprise you've had in your career so far?
Yeah, this is actually something that you know, I've learned over time. I think when I first started out and I was working with other businesses, other creatives, other artists, business owners, I felt quite undeserved of this kind of position and this opportunity to work with these people, and I had like a lot of admiration for what they were doing in the city, and I felt like I wasn't really qualified to be doing what I was doing. I guess it's like that kind of imposter syndrome sort of thing. And slowly but surely over time, and through people being very friendly, kind and generous with advice and honesty about themselves, I started realising that like everyone was the same. Like no one knew what they were doing. Everybody's winging it.
Yeah.
You know, everybody felt like they didn't necessarily deserve to be where they were, and were grateful for where they were. And then I realised, well, like there's no, you're doing it. Like what else, what other kind of evidence and what other qualifications do you need other than the fact you're actually doing it? So so I guess the biggest shock was that nobody 100% knows what they're doing.
They don't. The walk of life, dire straits.
But that's like a reassuring, do you know what I mean? Like that's a reassuring thing that we're all like learning, constantly learning. And then I felt like a little bit more kind of part of things than like on the outside, or because I'd all this anxiety, you know, getting upset, worrying about deadlines and letting people down and stuff like that. And then I kept getting hit with complete and utter patience and understanding by people. And I was like, you know, it's not, you know.
Yeah, I've got you. I've been in positions where I've had to ask for extra time for deadlines, very nervously asking the client, thinking they're going to flip out, for them to be very polite and say, it's cool, don't worry about it. If you need more time, go for it. You know, there's a lot of people like that, isn't there, who are not demons.
Yeah.
We're all the same.
And there's a lot of anxiety with what I do because the manufacturing, I have to relinquish control. Once I've done my bit, which is sending off the design work, that things can go wrong, and it's thousands of miles away.
Yeah.
And I have to wait 3 or 4 weeks to find out there's a problem. And then I've got to go and say, we're going to have to redo this. It's going to take another 3 or 4 weeks. And that's like, it doesn't happen loads, but it has happened. It's comes part and parcel with the industry that there can be mistakes. So you're really kind of relying on a lot of kind of understanding and coolness from people. I've been lucky. I think I've been very, very lucky.
I think there's only been 2 occasions personally where I haven't been given the lifeline, I think, but yeah, like 99.999% of people will allow you the extension, or
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we've established that you work with local businesses, but tell us more about national and international.
I'm trying to think of a few different things that I've done. So one of the things that I did fairly early on was it was just by chance. I drew a picture based on Wes Anderson's Fantastic Mr. Fox film. I just did this like little doodle of Ash Fox wearing his little sock on his head, and this guy who was in Atlanta, who was a designer, he approached me and said, can we turn that drawing into a pin, and can we do it as a collaboration, and I will basically turn your sketch into a graphic, and we'll go halves and half, half and half. And basically everyone went crazy for this pin, and it led to a really cool relationship. I've never met this guy, but together we brought out an entire range of pins, and we just emailed each other designs. And back then I was really, really like, I wouldn't have been able to call myself a graphic designer. No, I was just like scanning my sketches in and stuff. So it actually worked out brilliant for me because he was, he works for MailChimp, he does their graphics and stuff like that. Like, so
he's well up there,
yeah, so he's like brilliant. So that was like a really nice kind of international thing. But I don't, because of like shipping, I don't do loads of business outside of the UK. I've done pins for Sun, which are a band, like a kind of gothy, it's not metal, it's like atmospheric music sort of thing, and they're like based in, they're like part American and part Czechoslovakian, and they like sell a lot of merch at their gigs. So I've done stuff with them and a few different other projects, Boston Art School, just really random different jobs.
Awesome. So how did the band find you then?
Just Google.
They just Googled you.
Got good SEO, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Like, I've done quite a lot of work in making sure my website stands out. It doesn't look like a wholesale shop. It looks like a place where art happens.
Yeah, looks hip.
Yeah.
I like your website.
Hip. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know why they chose me. Or maybe they got a load of quotes off everyone, and
he was the cheapest.
I was the friendliest. I don't know.
The best quality.
Best quality. Well, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Okay, so this leads on to the next question quite well. So how do businesses, So how do businesses typically reach out to you?
So a lot of my business is in Liverpool, and that is because my best marketing tool is word of mouth. So like enamel pins is a pretty niche thing. It's not like everywhere's got a pin person.
Pin dealer.
Do you know, a pin dealer, yeah. So because I'm doing something like a bit different, if somebody's after something, I'm just like the go-to in the area. So, you know, I do have a website with a contact form, and I get, you know, every day I get people getting in touch with me. But a lot of the time I just get DMs on Instagram.
Yeah. That's cool.
Or someone messages me and says, can I give this person your email? Because you've done my pins, I want, you know, and they want some. And a lot of work comes from personal recommendations.
I think when I first moved to Liverpool, I found it overwhelming, the word of mouth. I haven't done much marketing. I just did a few jobs when I moved here, and it's like wildfire, isn't it?
Well, it's quite small. It's a quite small city. It's quite contained, and you know, a lot of the work that I've done has been within the hospitality industry, and because of the nature of that industry, staff move around, everybody knows each other. A lot of the time, you know, they've worked really hard and they all go out after work and then they're socialising together. So it's a very, very close-knit kind of community, and people are just like really keen to help each other out. And if they can give somebody in the city the business, they will do that, you know. They will.
Liverpool's like not any other city I've been to, because it's amazing how many people know someone who works somewhere, or the connections are so tight. I haven't lived in any other city, so I don't know if it's any different elsewhere, but I can imagine Manchester not being like this. Or maybe communities within the quarters of the city. But Liverpool,
I think it's a bit more spread out, Manchester.
But Liverpool, like you can bump into someone and they will know someone where you're walking or something. It's mad.
But even the geography of it, you can walk from end to end of the main city centre in a pretty short space of time. You know, so even that in itself makes it a lot easier to kind of make connections.
Yeah, I like the community aspect of it. It's really good. Does your company help the local community?
Yes, I think so. I mean, aside from the fact that I'm providing a really good service and I am taking the stress away from obtaining excellent quality merchandise, I do quite a bit of kind of charity stuff. So I don't have like a designated charity that I always give to, and I don't even, I basically, my income is different all of the time, month to month, and if I'm having a good month, I will choose a cause that I think is important at that time, or just, you know, something that's happening to somebody that I care about at the time, and I will donate a portion of my...
You made a donation in December.
I did.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so I made a donation to a charity called We Are With You, and they support addicts, recovering addicts, and the families of recovering addicts in the Liverpool area.
Okay.
And the reason I chose that is because it was the year anniversary of my dad dying, and he was a recovering addict, and I am also a recovering addict.
Yeah.
And you know, it just felt like the right thing to do. He was very helpful to other people, and you know, newcomers, he would drive them round to meetings, and he would do a lot to help spread the message of kind of hope to people who were struggling, and so therefore I wanted to kind of carry on that legacy in a way, I suppose.
So if you had a piece of advice to anyone starting out in the world of business, what piece of advice would you give them?
It might seem quite easy for me to say this because this is just how things have kind of transpired for me, but I really do think that being genuine is important, and I think it's very obvious when the goal of a business is money and success. And there's no passion, there's no core values, and there's no particular or you know, there's a fake interest in helping people. I think that money and success come as like a byproduct for you just doing what you want to do, well, what you're passionate about really well, and you know, being considerate to you know, the market, your customers, the kind of the environment, the planet, and all of those things. You know, if you're chasing figures, you're just going to be disappointed, and you know, it's all going to fall apart pretty quickly because people are going to, you know, sense the disingenuousness of your venture, really.
I've always said money is a byproduct of success. Whether people have always understood me when I've said that or not, but I've never told them any more information than that because, But that's right though, because if you're chasing money, you're going to be spending it as quick as you're making it anyway. So just make, you know, you're just there for the money, you know. If you're going to be there for the long run, you need to dig deep and really do it for passion.
Yeah, and like just to kind of, you know, with that in mind, personally, I would recommend being very careful about making huge financial investments into a brand new thing. You know, whatever it is you want to do, what's like a mini version of that? How do you test it out? How do you slowly kind of work your way in? And, you know, we see it at the moment, pop-ups, you know, stuff like having a bit in the Baltic market, stuff like that. You get to test your business. It's great. Like, you get to test your business out on a small scale, and decide if you're gonna then get business rates and get a property and, you know, the really big scary things that you do. I mean, like I don't really have any of that. You know, I kind of just operate job to job, and I get paid in advance for everything that I do.
I think most people now don't need those types of things to operate a business, do they? Especially with technology and communication. Just, you know, you don't have to have those things, offices or shop fronts. You could be just as successful as any other person in this day and age. I started off on a borrowed laptop off my brother because I couldn't afford my own laptop, and I borrowed it for 6 months. And obviously you get what you need to enable yourself through your own work, rather than you don't want to be taking out crazy financial burdens early on, don't you?
Yeah, because that's the other thing as well, is like you have this great idea, you want to help people, but then you suddenly create these like, you know, monthly pay, you know, take out a loan, you've got all these like mad monthly payments, and then you have to make a certain amount, and then you slip back into that whole money's the main objective thing, because it has to be for your survival, and you lose the thread of what you were set out to do in the first place.
It is. Like, I've been given advice just as sound as yours, but being young, I was quite naive to it, and you kind of do that, I'll just do it my way. But you do in the end, and you kind of learn from your own mistakes at the same time. Like I'm quite rebellious. If someone give me good advice, I'm like, naturally don't want to listen to it. But I'll go and make the mistakes and then preach the advice they told me when I never listened in the first place. You know what I mean?
But that's like, that's the great thing, I think, about like entrepreneurship, is the whole trial and error learning. You know, even not in business, in school, and in, you know, probably even when I was a kid, I won't read instructions. I absolutely will not read instructions. I will sit and hammer stuff and break things apart and keep going and going and going until I work out how to do it. And, you know, as I might glance at the instructions, but I find it so difficult to just cooking, can't follow a recipe.
No.
It's like, I don't know.
If you start improvising,
this needs a bit of paprika.
Yeah. Take it.
So yeah, I don't know. And I guess like that, it's probably the same with me. There's a rebelliousness of following the rules and how it's supposed to be. I have to kind of do things in my own way, but you come to the answers.
Yeah, you find your own path after falling off it 10 times. Yeah.
I'm chilly now, man.
It's getting cold now. What do you think of that one? Tell me something that's true that most people, that almost nobody agrees with you on. Sorry, what have you
ask me that. I'm not going to answer how you think I'm going to answer, but I'll answer it. And then the other one, what's something people seem to misunderstand about you? Yeah. I'm going to answer the two of them in one go. What?
They are the same question, really, aren't
Yeah, they are the same question. You can ask me it though.
Okay, so here's a different question. So, can't fucking remember. You know, when I did that tour for Fiverr.com, and I had to go on stage, my hand was riddled with notes.
Notes, oh right, okay.
No, actually, they were full questions. I put like 2 on each finger. I got a photo somewhere, it's hilarious. Because there was so much press there as well. The first night in London, I had like the fucking Times and all this shit myself. Tell me something that's true that almost nobody agrees with you on.
No, I think the other one's worded better.
What's something people don't seem to understand about you?
Yeah.
Yeah? Alright, cool. Okay, so here's a different question for you. So, tell me something that most people misunderstand about you.
So, I actually don't know. And not only do I not know the answer to that, but I don't even let my mind go there. It's taken me quite a long time to get to this point, but I don't concern myself with what other people think about what I'm doing.
Okay.
And that's fairly new actually, and it's a bit of a revelation. But And it comes with confidence, and it comes with all the other things I've talked about, like realising everyone else is making it up as they go along and kind of being comfortable. But I would make myself sick with anxiety, worrying about whether I'm cool enough, or if I'm, talking about myself too much, or if I'm, people don't like my designs, they think they're stupid, or, anything. I wouldn't be able to get out of bed in the morning. So I basically just do what I want to do and try and be as considerate as I possibly can. So as long as I'm not hurting anyone, I'm just going to do what I want.
You've heard it here, folks. Why not? Fuck it. Look at them two down there.
I really love canoeing. I would love to go down there, but not today. It's fucking freezing.
It's the best time to do it in snow, isn't it? So what is the most important thing you've learnt in your life?
Pretty obvious one. A bit of a cliche, but actually just learning to have a good relationship with myself, learning to like myself, because I haven't always. And a big part of me being okay and pretty content at the moment is because I went through addiction recovery. So I gave up drinking and taking drugs, and had to do like a lot of work on myself.
Yeah. So what was your life like before learning that?
So I was pretty kind of high functioning.
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of people who are quite surprised that, I even was an addict, because I kind of just about kept it together. But I was pretty miserable, and I always had a chip on my shoulder, and I was pretty angry and defensive and didn't think much of myself. And I got on with stuff, and I did well at work. I even started my degree while I was drinking. So, my life didn't fall apart and ended up in prison or in well, I have actually ended up in hospital because of it. But I was just unhappy. A lot of my problems were coming from, putting myself in dangerous situations and having blackouts and stuff like that. So the main thing that has happened since I've stopped that cycle that I couldn't kind of get away from is just some clarity. I'm still doing the same stuff that I'm doing. I could quite possibly still have been doing quite well at a business and still drinking, but I wouldn't have been able to appreciate it or enjoy it to the same extent.
Yeah.
And I just think that's priceless, really. Just being able to feel grateful for all these opportunities and just feel happy with what I'm doing.
Got you. So that's what your life is like now?
Yeah.
Since doing that, yeah. That's amazing. Awesome. So should I do a little outro thing? Okay, so give us an insight into what you have planned for the future, or what's around the corner.
Right now, I am preparing stock orders for my stockists. So there's various different gift shops around the city that sell my pins as gifts, and they're all getting ready to reopen on the 12th. So I'm kind of trying to fulfill those orders. And I am putting in applications for markets, open air markets that are coming up. And the first event that I've got is something a little bit different. Okay. So there is a new bar opening, launching, called Sub Rosa. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And they're going to have a massive outdoor space. There's going to be food vendors there and good vibes, and I'm going to have a little shipping container with a stall, and I'm going to be selling my pins and some other new products as well there.
That sounds epic. So what date is this on?
So I'm going to be there from the Wednesday, which is the 14th.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm quite excited because I think it'll be a nice way to witness people coming back into, you know, society and reality, and you know, and especially because I don't drink as well, I can just keep stay at a distance and just observe what's happening.
You'll be in your safety container. Have you seen?
Just shut the doors if it's getting a bit aggro.
Awesome. So where can people find you online?
So I have got an Etsy store, PinHead UK. I'm actually in the process of creating a website as well, which is nearly ready to go. Most of my social stuff I do on Instagram. This might be my biggest regret of my whole business thing, but my Instagram handle is at PinHead, but there's a dot in between each letter.
Cool. I have noticed when you search the word just PinHead, it still comes up.
Yeah, it definitely does. Probably because you're in the area though, and because you know other people that I know. But maybe, yeah, like if I could go back and undo having to type P.I.N. I would.
That is interesting, like I admit. Yeah. Oh, good.